All right, welcome to the workshop this morning. I feel like we've been stuck in that little bathroom for weeks and weeks because we actually have been. So I wanted to do something out in the workshop to change things up a little bit. I think last video I said I was going to caulk and paint the trim and stuff like that. So that's what I've been doing in there. So kind of boring to watch. So I figured we'd do something a little bit different. The other thing I think some of you eagle-eyed people will notice, or people that just have better eyesight than I do, which is most. You probably noticed I got some fuzzies in the wall, like when I was showing the trim around the door, what I was going to do there. You saw some fuzzies in the wall. So I just spent a lot of time kind of scraping the walls, getting some fuzzies out, and then repainting the walls. Got the trim in, got that caulked. I cut in around the wall stuff. Some of the tape, I used some of that painter's tape, the blue stuff, and it pulled some of the paint off, so it didn't adhere very well. So I had to touch up some spots like that. So that's kind of drying in there. I just got to do the trim one last time, the final coat on the trim, and we're done with that. So we're going to get away from that for a little while, and we're going to work on a different project. So we're going to work on that mirror. So let me show you what I got going on. Okay, so if you remember, this is the mirror that we pulled out of that guest bathroom. I was thinking it over, and I was a little concerned with what if I need to cut the mirror and it's right over where that mastic is that held it on the wall. Would it break properly, or would that kind of keep it from breaking clean? The way around that is like, if I needed to take, 4 or 5 inches off this side, I would just take 2.5, and I would miss the mastic. So that's a way around it. But I started thinking about it. I think I want to keep this mirror for the master bathroom project, because I know that mirror has some water damage and delamination in the bottom corner. When we get to that, I'll show it to you why I'm swapping that one out. So I don't know how much I need to cut that down. I could reuse that one. I don't know yet. So this is a good mirror, so I'm just going to keep it in stock so that I can use that for, or at least gives me an option for a mirror for the master bath project. So what I did was I went to my favorite thrift store and bought this mirror for like 10 bucks. Thing I liked about it was the overall width was less than 28 inches, which is what my countertop's going to be. So I've got to keep everything within that. It would look weird to have a mirror up against the wall on one side and then extend past the vanity on the other side. So it needed to stay within that 28-inch footprint. And the height is not too tall. So we're not going to use the frame, but we're going to use this mirror. And the cool thing about this mirror, it's a little fancy. It's got the bezeled edges on it. So all we need to do is use this stock that I got at the box store. Found some 2.5-inch poplar stock. Poplar is really good because it's very straight grained. You won't see any knots and stuff in it, and it paints up really well. So we're going to paint that to match the cabinet. So that should all go well together. And then that little bezel on the mirror should make it a little bit fancy, because the other stuff going in there is a little bit fancy. So we're going to dismantle this. See what size frame we need to make. We'll probably doodle up a little drawing so I don't make any mistakes. And remember on that little quick frame I made for the attic access, I made it because it's simple. I'm not going to do 45s because this is how the door is going to kind of look. I want this frame to kind of look that way too, but we already did the screws and stuff to do that kind of butt joint. So what I think I'm going to do is try something different I haven't before. So we're going to do a butt joint, but we're going to do some dowels and just out of some scrap stuff I have. So we're going to try that out, because I don't want to have the 2 screws in the back of the frame and then have to worry about routing out that inner part of the frame to fit the glass in or the mirror in, and worry about hitting a screw. So we're just going to make it all wood. We're going to glue it up so that it's nice and tight there, and then sand it down really well and paint it. So that's what we're going to do. So hopefully you stick around and watch my success, we'll say. Okay, so you saw I got the mirror out of the frame successfully. For a second there, I thought I cracked it because I was trying to get, there was some adhesive or something in the edges that was keeping it other than the staples and the cardboard. So I was trying to get that out with a utility knife, and I got right up against the glass, and I thought I heard a crack. I think we saved the mirror. I think we're good. So I put it somewhere safe in the house so it's not out in the workshop and I back into it or something stupid. So so that's in good shape. Now I figured out what I need to do with this. So I doodled a little diagram. So basically, my uprights are going to be, I need two 27s, and then the top and bottom are going to be two 26 and a half. That almost sounds like a square mirror, but remember, we're not 45 in the corners. These are going to be stacked on these, so it does still end up being a long rectangle vertically. So we've got that. For the dowels, I've got a few different sizes. So there's like quarter inches, and this is maybe a 3/8 inch dowel. So I got to figure out which ones I want to use. That I'm thinking maybe two smaller dowels in each corner. I mean, I put one little peg there, but maybe I'll do two small ones. I just need to not be within a quarter inch of the inside frame because we're going to rabbit out a little or route out a little ledge on the back side of this for the glass to sit in. Then we can caulk it in. So that's the idea that I have. And again, with the dowels and stuff, again, my favorite discount store. I bought this bag of just random sized dowels and everything. It was like $5 months and months and months ago, and I've just used them for different stuff. So this mirror project should be pretty inexpensive. $10 for the mirror. I'm using the stuff I already have. I already got the glue, the paint, all that kind of stuff. Had to buy these. So $25, I think, for all that stuff. So should be in the mirror, $35-40. That's not too bad. Anyway, let's cut down the stock and start fitting some stuff up. Okay, so I've been doing a little test fitting while you were away. So I put this in my drill press to get a nice vertical hole through there, and then try not to blow out the other side too bad. And then clamped these down and ran another drill through there. Normally, I would want to use the spade bit, but once I put it up in the chuck, it wobbles quite a bit. So this bit is bent. I do not have another one, so I'm going to have to go with just your basic drill bit, like a utility bit. Nothing fancy, but they do kind of wander a bit. But with this being held in place and being in the chuck and the drill press, I don't think it'll be too bad because that is what I did here, and it did line up still pretty good. So we're going to get two holes in each end because I did realize once I put this all together, it still wants to twist a little bit, and for the joint to be a little bit stronger, we're going to put two per side because really I just have to stay away like a quarter inch from the inside. I made a bunch of dowels, cut them down the size, and then took a little bit off the end so I can get them in the hole a little bit easier. If you just don't do that, sometimes you have a hard time smacking in the hole there. So I got 8 of those, so we can glue that. So these are the test pieces, the leftovers from the pieces that I had. So they were good test subjects. So now let's get the actual pieces and start drilling them. But I'm going to refer to that drawing so that I don't drill the wrong pieces. So let's get to that point, drill them. Okay, so you just saw me drill the holes in the drill press. I wasn't too worried about blowouts on the back side because those are all going to be covered because they're going to be inside the frame. So normally you would want to put a piece of sacrificial wood behind that so you don't have the blowouts. You'd also want to use that spade bit, which is bent for me. So this is a, doing the best with what we got kind of thing. So a lot of people don't have too many pieces of fancy equipment in their garage, so I kind of want to do it with as limited number of stuff. The drill press sure helps to drill straight holes, but with a 1/4 inch dowel and a 3/4 inch piece of wood, you've got some leeway to go in a little bit cockeyed if you're trying to do this by hand or something. But I need to transfer these holes into the end grain of this board. So the only way I can think to do that with any amount of accuracy is I am going to put the joint together and clamp them all down and then drill the holes. So we're going to clamp this down, clamp it down at the end as well, and then just hand drill the holes. So we have the existing holes to help us keep those dowels going in straight. So we just transfer the holes in this piece of wood into the end grain of this piece of wood. So I'm going to clamp it down and just do it by hand. So I'm going to show you how we do that, or how I'm going to do that. That's pretty good. Another one for safety. And then when I drill these, I need to mark them all because these holes are not exact on every single piece, so there's slight variance. So if I were to try to just grab the top piece and the bottom piece and try to fit them in, it's going to mess up my joint. So once I drill these holes are specific for this joint now, so I will mark this joint. So this is the joint that goes together, and then the other three. So, all right, let's see how we do. And then once we unclamp it, because this isn't long enough, we can finish the holes after it's unclamped, but they're marked a good 3/4 of an inch in there. So we'll do that for every joint. We're going to mark them. I'm going to do a little line. And then next one I'll do 2 lines, next one I'll do 3 lines, next one I'll do 4 lines. So that way they're all marked and I have an alignment mark. So do that 3 more times. Okay, time for assembly. I keep turning the heater off to record because it's kind of noisy, and I keep forgetting to turn it back on. So it's kind of chilly out here. So let's get this together and drying. So I might even bring it inside for tonight to let it dry indoors. But I got everything lined up. I'm glad I put the marks on there because it took a little bit of brain power to get everything realigned again. I think what I'm going to do is put we'll try this first. I'm going to put the dowels mostly through here, so I got them sticking out the one end. I'll glue up the butt edges, tap them together, and then clamp them. We'll see how that goes. If it's not too messy, we'll do that on the other side. I gotta remember I just flipped that, so I gotta flip it back. I could glue these first and drive them through, but I don't know how much glue is gonna stay in the hole. But the big thing is the joint. So these are more aligning things than anything else. Okay, so just little nubs in there, and I will flip it back to how it's supposed to be. That is correct. All right, let's glue up some ends. Bought bags of these cheap little brushes for glue ups. Have not used them yet, so we will see how this goes. Bristle's coming out. That's not good. Pretty good. Gonna grab some water real quick, clean these up, and clamp them. Get too short. Too short. So here's my prop. So it's all together. It's all glued. When I put that last joint together, it kind of shifted a little bit. So I don't have long enough clamps to clamp them tight. So I think I might. The only thing I've got is ratchet straps. I'll grab some out of the truck and see if I can't just like lightly. I don't want it to bend up and everything. I just want them to be tight to each other. So tight joints. Just till it dries. So, well, we're gonna let that dry, and we'll see how it looks when it dries. So I don't like that I put the last joint together and it kind of opened up all the joints. So there's a bit of a real minor, but it opened up the joint. So that's not great for a glue joint. The dowels are in there, but we'll see how, I guess, durable it feels once it's all dried, and we'll take the straps off. Because if not, we'll come up with a plan B. So I'll stress about it all night and lose sleep over it. So you don't have to do that. I'll do that. It's my normal job. So anyway, we'll let that dry and get back to it tomorrow. All right, so we got the last coat of paint on the trim in the bathroom on the inside. So we're all done painting in there. I pulled all the tape off stuff. It's just drying. So now while that's drying, we'll get back to our mirror or a mirror frame. Yesterday, we ended with me putting those bands on there. I took those off right away because it was starting to make the frame kind of, even with barely any pressure. So it was kind of tweaking the frame. So I took them off right away. Let it dry overnight. So we'll do a light sanding today. See how those gaps turned out, see if we need to putty them and sand them again. But we'll sand that. We're gonna cut the little ends of those dowels off. If you don't have one, this is a Japanese pole saw. They're pretty handy because the blade is super thin and you can get things pretty tight. So it's got a cross cut and a rip and a cross cut blade, just like a regular two-sided saw would have, but you know, they're pretty handy. So we're gonna use that to get the nubs off, do a quick sanding. We also want to do keyhole slots because I think I want to do 2 screws out of the wall to hang it. So that's more durable than, you know, a string like a picture frame wire, that kind of thing. So I like doing those because it's just solid, because you're going to be cleaning the mirror, that kind of stuff. I don't like things jostling around. So, all right, let's get to it. Okay, so I did a quick sanding on the frame. I did end up using some quick dry and wood filler for the seams again. It like goes on pink, and then when it's dry, it turns tan, so it's pretty evident when it's dry. So sanded it down again. I'm ready to route out the inside where the mirror is going to go. So I've got these router bits, and you can just change out the roller bearing on there to a larger size to get the correct depth laterally into the wood that you want. If you have the depth, you just adjust on your little table or your hand router if you're doing it that way. Cheap table I have, it works for what I need. So I changed out the bearing to a larger bearing. It's basically a 1/4 inch deep into the wood and a 1/4 inch into the wood. I always run a little test pattern, measured it again. That is what I'm looking for in the back of my mirror. So we are good to go. Cross your fingers, because I don't have anything like that. I don't run it against a fence. I do it the dangerous way, like a real man. So I do put on safety glasses and ears because, you know, I'm not that much a real man or that stupid, one or the other. The downside of this is there's a lot of weight that's wanting to pull it over, so we will see how this goes. Okay, went pretty good. I went nice and slow because I'm taking out a big chunk. So sometimes if it's a lot of wood you're taking out, do a couple of passes, 2 or 3. So I think that went pretty good. It was difficult to keep it flat on the table, but I'm glad I had a table. If you have a handheld one, probably be easier after it's assembled. So now I just need to take clean out these corners with a chisel. Not my crappy one, but my good chisels. So that is next. Okay, so good chisel. I scribed some lines really quick on where I need that inside corner to be. Just be careful cutting that out, and we should be able to fit that mirror in easily. All right, do that 3 more times. Won't make you watch that. Uh-oh, spaghetti-o. I made a boo-boo. Check out my errors. So I was test fitting the mirror. So got everything cut in there. Got the corners cleaned out with a good chisel. Went to test fit the mirror, and you can tell it does not fit within my groove. So I go, huh, that's weird. I'm like a ½ inch off. And if you eagle-eyed people looked at my little doodle for this project, I made these side pieces 27 inches long, and the mirror is 28. You go, oh, so I need to go a ½ inch on each side, and that's not what I wanted. I wanted a quarter. So I made a 1/4 inch router, and I made the whole frame to have a 1/4 inch router edge around the inside to inset the glass in. Except my original measurement on this piece was wrong. So I've got a conundrum. So I hate redoing stuff. So I don't think I want to redo the frame because that'd be a lot of time and effort. So the quick one is buy a frame that works, paint the frame, that kind of thing. That's kind of boring. I think with this one, maybe I'll swap the mirrors out. So I kind of like the bezel glass in here. It would have been kind of cool for that room, but I want to remake a whole frame for that. So maybe I save this glass for the master, and then I take the original one, which is what we were going to do, and go back to plan A and cut that mirror up. So make that one fit here. So now that the frame's already made, I can still finish it up and paint it and all that kind of stuff like I wanted to today. And then we'll just have to cut the other mirror, the original mirror, tomorrow or later today or something. But I got stuff to do in a couple hours. So we'll see how far we get. So errors, and I hate that because it's just a measurement thing, or I was half asleep that day or whatever, but it's an error from a day or two ago. You discover a couple days later and you're like, there goes the day for all my work. So I had to come up with a plan B or go back to the original plan A instead of changing stuff along the way. So anyway, that's my boo-boo. I'm going to live with it. So we'll figure something out. Okay, so I'm going to keep things moving along from my little faux pas. I'm a little irritated about that still. So instead of doing something else that'll make it worse, instead of getting the little keyhole bit in my router and then do the measuring and then cut in the back of this, I'm going to just use these pre-made ones that I got in something I bought a while ago. I got a bunch of these, so I haven't really used them because I just have the bit, so I just always do it myself. With the frame already being done, I don't want to make an error again, so I'm just going to use these. They basically recess them into the wood where you want them. Recess them. So I've got a Forstner bit that'll recess that down into the wood exactly where I want it. I went down 11 inches on each side. That's about 1/3 of the way down on the frame. I'll recess them. I'll put them in place. You do have to eat away the wood in the backside so you can get a screw through the hole, and then behind where the little keyhole part is, so you can get the screw that's holding up the mirror all the way up into that. So I'm just going to do that really quick. I'm not going to bore you with it, but I got Forstner bit. I just need to recess just a hair and then clean up that wood behind it, probably with a chisel, and find some little tiny screws to fit in there. So we're going to do that. and go on. So. Okay, so that's ready to go in. So in case you're not familiar with some of these bits and stuff I threw out there, so this is a Forstner bit. It's really good at doing large recesses into wood. So if you need it flat bottomed, that kind of thing, which is perfect for this. So that's a 1-inch diameter. So I used a 1-inch Forstner bit. Mark the center, just drilled that down. And then this, I just used a regular drill bit. So marked it, one on the bottom, one on the top, because that screw hole or the head of the screw has to fit in here and then slide all the way up. So this can now be screwed into there. And you've got the recess in the back. So tiny little screws, that makes all of this nice and flat on the back. And good to go. So did that on that side and same thing over there. So going to install those and sand it one more time and paint it. Okay, I just want to show you real quick where we are on the project. So the dowels, they disappeared pretty well in there. We routed everything out. We've got our keyhole slotted hangers in there on both sides. They ended up pretty even, so I have to make sure they're even again when I'm hanging the thing, but we are ready to paint. So I've got my paint board out here. So it's just a bunch of thumbtacks glued to a board, and what that does is it keeps this off the edge. Or it keeps it from sitting up edge against something, so I can get right to the edge there without it, without paint kind of running down the edge and touching another board or something like that. So it just kind of keeps it off the edge. Last can, I think I'm gonna have to grab another one, so there's gonna need 2 or 3 coats. But anyway, it's a new morning. We let that frame dry overnight. We ran out of paint, so the first thing I did this morning was I took a real quick trip over to the store to get more of the thing that's not in my hand because they didn't have any. So I checked their back stock, I checked their attic stock, all that kind of stuff. So they had none. So I spent the rest of the morning, which was not a real quick trip, that was a real long trip, with holiday traffic and horrible drivers. So finally tracked it down. So I got the paint. So we can put a second, maybe even a third coat. We might have to sand in between. So the wood is really absorbing this paint really well. So, but the finish is not how I want. So it definitely needs a second. It might need a third. So while that is painted and drying, I also got some silicone caulk, the caulk around the baseboards of the bathroom, and just to try to make it as water resistant as possible. So if you get water under the trim and back behind the tile, and it can get into the subfloor and stuff. So I'm just trying to, do some due diligence and kind of make that as watertight as I can. So we'll do that. And then that's basically a bunch of stuff drying. So I can't do too much in the bathroom because stuff's drying in there. This is going to be drying on the workbench. But I think if I can find my my glass cutter, we'll see if we can cut down that mirror to fit in here. So let's get that stuff done and we'll go from there. Okay, so I lost the audio for this next clip. Basically, the short version of what I was saying is there's a reason people don't like to reuse these mirrors that you pull off your wall. The big one is that mastic that's stuck on the back of it and how to deal with that. You can't scrape it off because it'll ruin the mirror. That red coating you see is what makes that piece of glass a mirror. So if you scratch that, you have a piece of glass. So you'll be able to see a defect in the back of the glass. If you scratch that and you're looking through the other side, it'll just be a piece of glass you're looking through. So it's hard to deal with that. The best you can do is just kind of flatten out the best you can and just try not to damage the backing on there. So that's basically what I'm talking about. If you're cutting the glass, try to miss those so you can cut your glass in a way that you miss most of those. You're not cutting right down the middle of a big blob of that black tar stuff. And that's it. So yeah, I lost the audio in this clip as well. So basically, this is where I'm cutting the mirror down to size. I measured everything out, so I was pretty confident I got the right dimensions this time, unlike my original frame. And I used a little bit of that blue tape just to keep that straight edge from moving on me. Just because you're putting it on a pretty slippery surface, a piece of glass, and it's a piece of metal, so it wants to move pretty easy. So put a little oil on the cutter, and then nice down pressure and nice score across it. And as you can see, it broke pretty well. So this is a larger piece. It broke easier. The one when I cut the other side, I didn't score it good enough, so I had to go back and rescore it again. But it turned out pretty good. There's a little bit of a jagged edge in one of the corners, but I was able to get that to fit into the frame when I glued that in place the next morning. So pretty happy with how it cut down. And that's the basics. So you miss out on the exciting noise of the crack as the mirror breaks, but other than that, that's kind of what I was doing in this clip. Okay, so this morning I just want to throw, I got the mirror cut and everything. The frame's all dried from the painting and everything, so it turned out well. I'll show you that later. I just want to get some caulk in the back to seal this mirror to the frame and let it cure. So it's probably going to be all I can get done today. So we'll get this cured. I got to edit still, and I got other stuff to do today. So probably next video you'll see this hanging on the wall and see a lot of the other stuff that we got done this week that you haven't seen on camera. So we're moving along pretty good. Got a few more things to do. We'll get this sealed up and move on from there. Okay, I think that's going to do it for this week. So I'm going to let that cure. I'm probably going to grab it and throw it inside because I haven't been outside here in the shop and I haven't turned the heater on. So it's really cold. So it's messy. So I did it real quick in here. I'll bring it back inside to cure. If you would smash all the buttons, like, share, subscribe. It helps me out a ton. And I will see you next week. Thanks for watching.